everyone. Welcome back to Newfound Happy Hour, a podcast where I talk to people from Newfoundland about the cool things that they're doing or things they've experienced and want to share. My name is Sarah, and this is part 2 of my solo traveling episode with Kelsey. So last time we answered questions that a bunch of you sent me about solo traveling, and in part 2 we're continuing that conversation and getting a little bit deeper in relating solo travel to your own personal growth. Regardless of where you are in your life or your relationship status. I did a 6-week trip back in March and April where I spent about a month in Europe. Most of that time was solo by myself, and Kelsey has experience with this too. So we kind of compare our experiences and then talk about some travel tips that we both have, not just from this trip, but an accumulation of all the travel tips that I've gotten over the years. And we even get into talking about why I started this podcast a little over a year ago, which is crazy. So definitely go check out part 1 before listening to this one. And there's now a year's worth of episodes that you can listen to. So yeah, here's part 2 with Kelsey. The last question I had from people was, did you enjoy your solo time more or less than you originally expected you would? So, I mean, you've done a couple trips by yourself. The most I've ever done is like actually just traveling, like getting on a plane by myself, taking trains or Ubers or whatever by myself. Like that's pretty much the only experience I had. So being completely alone, I think I liked it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
And I knew I was gonna, I think actually normally when I go on a trip that's like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm so ready to come home by the end of it. And that's when I'm with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm almost like more excited to go be by myself again. But I usually want to go home 2 or 3 weeks in. So I was nervous that I was going to feel that way, but I didn't. It wasn't until the very last week that I was like, I'm getting ready to come home.
Yeah. And you have, a really solid friend group in Newfoundland as well, which I think like you missed and they missed you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this trip especially, I was super alone until I met up with my best friend, one of my best friends in the UK in Cambridge, which people like Cambridge is super beautiful. It's not like a ton to do, but I definitely think it's worth the trip. And I snuck in to the university, like one of
Right.
the colleges or whatever they have there. And it is straight out of Harry Potter. Like all you have to do is look like a student and you just walk right in and they will not say anything to you, but they don't allow visitors currently. Right. I think it's been since the pandemic. So even in Cambridge, like some moments alone, I really took some leaps, and that was a really special experience for me. And I just went in there and sat down and read and was like, I'm at Hogwarts and like, this is the best.
Yeah. The pictures were so cool.
Such a cool place. Cambridge, really awesome. So there I had my friend, I was staying with my friend. So it was a lot cozier, a lot comfier. But the rest of the 3 weeks, I was really by myself. I would say 95% of the time. I did a couple things with people. One night with a couple of people from a hostel in Lyon, and I did one thing with a guy I met in the UK. But I really kept to myself this time. And other than like reaching out to my partner, checking in from time to time, it's kind of what I mentioned about the power of being quiet and just like enjoying life and soaking everything in. I definitely was ready to have that experience, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. And I would tell everybody that you need to do something like that. Just be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you don't have the means to like go to Europe or go for as long, even just a weekend by yourself, I think could be.
Go camping by yourself.
Yeah.
I've done this. Also really cool and a little bit scary. But yeah,
Yeah.
do something on your own, see how it feels, then go for a little
Yeah.
longer, see how it feels.
And it's funny how it's like we kind of did similar trips, but
Mhm.
for different reasons. Like you said, you were always in relationships, so you kind of wanted to go do something on your own.
Yeah, and I
Meanwhile,
think
like,
I had the travel bug again because it always
yeah,
comes back.
it always comes back. I
But yeah,
haven't
I
even been
needed
back
that.
like 3 weeks and I already have 2 trips booked for later this year. Like,
And I think I needed it as well because I had just like decided to be sober for my mental health.
mm,
And that whenever I've kind of traveled in the past alone, I have drank a lot. And I have like got up to no good, which is one of like my past flaws. So this was almost like you can go away and be on your own and like not, you know, F up and not
mhm.
be, go off the walls. Like just go and like take care of yourself. Um, and that was a great like moment of proving that I can be alone and also stable and healthy, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's just cool how like regardless of whether you're like single or in a relationship or whatever like your own personal growth looks like to you, traveling by yourself is beneficial for all of it.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something to me about traveling won't fix your problems. And I want to say
Mm,
that I agree and disagree with that statement.
yeah,
So I
me
have
too.
to
I know
talk
exactly where you're going with it.
so I have to talk about the Buddhist author and teacher Pema Chodron, and I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but this person's amazing, and she talks about fear and discomfort. And a couple of things she says, I made a note, is one, live your life as an experiment. And I'm like, yes, I have done this. Like I have made so many choices to move, start this master's program, go on a trip by myself, let's write a thesis because why not? And a lot of relationship decisions. And I think I have regretted some and then come to not regret them. And a lot of it has been centered around traveling. Um, and like in the end, I kind of look back at the past 5 years. I don't have everything figured out. I definitely don't. But I really am happy with where I am in my life. And I think it's because I did treat my life as an experiment. I didn't do like what I was kind of supposed to do, which was go from this degree and go do education or continue with your music path. I was like, I'm going to be really messed up for a while and bounce around. And I think I'm more myself now because of all the traveling and all the crazy decisions I've made. And
Yeah.
she also talks about discomfort. And like, I think that can really link into anxiety. And when we travel by ourselves, we can feel anxious, whether it's from fear or just being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But we like need to be okay with those feelings. And it doesn't solve problems. But what is it she says? She says, um, we need to become familiar with like fear and discomfort, not as a way to solve problems, but as a complete undoing of old ways of seeing. And I
Yes.
think like that's kind of what it does because you remove yourself from your comfort zone in every way. And now you have a new way of looking at your life by the end of it. You do, no
Yeah.
matter why you went.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I definitely realize things about what I want when it comes to like a relationship and kids and things like that. And you only really get to know yourself that well when you're sitting there like in the quiet by yourself. Like I mean this is a different conversation, but I totally have an internal monologue.
Don't
So
we
I like have
all?
conversations with myself all the time. Like it's never quiet in my head ever. So to sit there and like be with my own thoughts is pretty rare, especially
Yeah.
because I'm normally so busy and around other people. So yeah, I yeah, you like learn things about yourself. Or you come to
Absolutely.
realize things that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah. And I think like going with the topic of like what you learn, this is so good. And I think that people our age or like around this time between 20 and 40, let's say, especially now with like Instagram, we're all looking at what everybody's doing all the time. And people like have looked at what I've done and they're like, oh, you really lived and blah, 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 and all these things. And I'm like, I feel like a total failure so much of the time.
Yeah.
And we really are so hard on ourselves. And it's such a weird like tie-in, but when I talk about, going to like arriving in Lyon and trying to fit all these things because I feel like I need to do all of them, it's kind of the same with life. And I love these 3-month trips because it's like a mini life within your life.
Yeah.
And you do figure out things. So like stop thinking you're not doing enough with your life or with your trip, because you are, and you have your own like path.
Yeah.
I spent 5 years, I think, just trying to figure out what relationship I needed. And now that I have that, I have this little baby on the way. I'm like, okay, so, but like, what am I doing for me? Have I been so focused on relationships and like, just what am I even like doing for me? What do I have in my life? I came here to be with my partner for a job, and to be with him. And I'm doing a day job now that I hate. Like my personal life is great, but am I now ready to do something else? And sometimes I'm so hard on myself because you look at this person like,
Yeah.
hey, they just finished dental school, or they have this great job that they love. But, there's things going on in their life that's not so great either.
Yeah.
And like, it's not ever too late. So like, I have all these plans now that I'm going to do these other things, but that solo trip, just like there's so many little bits of it that I'm now applying to like my life in general. And the big thing is stop thinking you're not doing enough with your
Yeah.
life, because you for sure are. And other people look at you and are like, oh, look at what they
Yeah.
did. And
Yeah.
like, you had a crazy time. I'm like, you know what? That's true. And I did have a good life. I also feel like a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like people said things like that to me too. And it's not like we walk around being like, I spent this time in France by myself. Like you don't think about that. I'm thinking about my job and my finances and like you
Mhm.
said, things where I'm not doing as well. And
Mhm.
when I came back, people are like, man, that was really brave of you to go do that alone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it
Look how
was
cool.
like,
I
but
know.
I don't sit there and think about it. But like more than one person said that to me,
Mhm.
and more than one person said things like, I wish I could do that, or like, I don't think I'd be able to do that. Where
Yeah.
they're kind of like giving you a compliment for doing it. And it's like, man,
Mhm.
I wasn't even talking to myself that way. So yeah, it's like give yourself more credit.
And when you're away and you have these uncomfortable moments, you feel whatever about being away. Like I definitely felt guilty about spending the money,
Mm-hmm.
guilty about just kind of leaving and spending all this while like my partner was just kind of at home and we were just about to move. And like, was that a responsible thing for me to do? And I had all these kind of thoughts swirling around, but I'm glad that I did it and we're fine. And that led to like all these realizations. And yeah, it's what you're doing is enough, promise.
Yeah. And it's like your relationship with yourself. Like I remember, like I kind of felt guilty for like missing certain things or, not being here for whatever the reason. And I was like, most of my life, I'm always on my phone. I'm always, not that this is like anyone's fault. Like I don't feel an obligation, but I'm always available. I'm always busy. I'm always doing things with other people.
Yeah.
And like celebrating everyone else's things. And like I'm a single person, so it's not kind of the same as, like you said, like what am I doing for me?
Yeah. And I think you absolutely needed to do this. I was so excited when you said you were doing it. I was like, yes. And like turn that around, because you're talking about being a single person. Like I've looked at you and thought, oh, like she just like has it together on her own. Like, could I even like be that way? And like, would I just fall apart on my own? Like, can I take care of myself? And I think those brief moments throughout the years, like spending time alone, bring me back to, yes, I can.
Yeah.
And now, like, the challenge is being in a relationship and also having my independence and also doing things for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have all these goals lined up now, that I don't think I was even mentally ready to attack before, but now like I have this challenge of doing it while also being a mom and also like being a wife. And I'm super up for that challenge.
Yeah.
But I look at people who have had some extended periods of time of self-reflection and being single, and I can look at that and be envious as well. So we're always just looking at other people, but everyone got their stuff, like I promise you.
Which is like the whole point of this podcast too. Because in like the very first episode, and I think I touch on it on every single episode, that like you don't know what other people are going through, and you cannot judge someone from social media. You really can't.
Use social media in a positive way. I know we're not talking about social media, we're talking about traveling, but think about when you're traveling and you're putting your stuff on social media, like how is that affecting other people? Like you don't know how like that will affect other people, and it definitely will. And they're looking at you being like, how cool, like I wish I was doing that. I think we need to use it in a more positive way. Like I got Snapchat just so I could get more things from you because I'm psyched.
Yeah.
So I really used to have a negative relationship with social media, but now it's very positive, where I just really want to see what's going on in my friends' lives. And I also post, but I don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. And you can't.
And you just really can't compare yourself, whether they're traveling and you wish you were or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, because the only thing I had left was tips. So I said this.
I'm so ready with my favorite tips that maybe are super basic, but
no, but they're things that people don't think
important.
of. And I think things that I wrote down, like it's only because I've traveled a lot before and I've been to Europe before that I'm like, oh, this is a thing. So yeah, anywhere you travel, you should have an air tag. I think they're great to track things.
You love air tag.
If you're staying, no matter where you're staying, like having a lock to lock things away, especially in hostels. And keeping copies of your passports and IDs. And I actually gave my mom, I sent my mom pictures of my credit cards just in case.
Nice. Yeah. Love that. I will add towel. You will most likely have to rent a towel from hostels you stay in. So bringing a towel, save a couple dollars.
Yeah.
So like with packing, like pack light, I really do suggest. You can't, if you're going for a long period of time, you can find laundromats that are not that expensive. Also, if it's the summer, you can be like this super cool photographer guy I met. He's from like Canada, Australia. I met him years ago when I was traveling in Portugal, and I ended up traveling with him through Portugal a little bit. one of my mini adventures that I won't get into. But he was traveling for 6 months and had a tiny book bag. And I was like, what are you like, how are you doing this? And he said, I have like 2 outfits. And he had these little things and
Like detergent.
and he washed his clothes in the sink
Mm-hmm.
and then would hang it to dry because it was warmer months. It was genius. He
Yeah.
was a
Okay.
genius.
Now that you say that, I wish I had have done that. You can buy like laundry detergent strips that are
Yeah.
just like paper and they dissolve. Um, I wish I had have done that because it was expensive to use the laundromat, but I didn't use the laundromat. Um, I literally just got some soap and I washed a sweater that I knew I wanted to wear on planes and stuff, and I
Yeah.
washed a bunch of socks in
Perfect.
a sink with soap, and I let them um under the hostel bed is like the cage that you
The
put your suitcase
cage.
in. And
Yes.
so I hung my socks on the thing and they dried
Amazing.
perfectly. And I was like, this
I
saved
love
me a
that.
good bit of money.
I absolutely love that.
Like saved me at least $20.
Absolutely. And that what a great resourcefulness you had there.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Well, it was only socks and stuff. So I was like, that's fine.
I also wanted to say earlier, and because I was talking about Portugal and you're talking about like washing things in the sink, if you are traveling in the like slightly warmer months and you have some good footwear, um, go on things like the Camino de Santiago. You're walking for really long periods, but there are hostels you can stay in for free if you get your little passport stamped. Um, and it's really fun. You meet a lot of really cool people on the way. But some of the hostels, like there's only cold water and there's no blankets. So, plan accordingly. But that was a really amazing experience that I didn't really talk about. And it's a different kind of travel. It's definitely not as fancy, even as staying in regular hostels.
Yeah.
But go on the Camino de Santiago, even if just for a couple days. Other tips, if you're in France and you're going to places like Lyon and you want to go check out a really cool place called Grenoble, which is an hour away, use things like Flixbus. Flixbus is a great company, really cheap. It cost me $10 to go to this whole other place outside the city. I stayed at a hostel called Le Hub. It was in like a student dormitory place, and they had like little, almost like huts. So it was super private, really beautiful place. Other great things to use are Skyscanner. I used that not this past trip, but when I lived in France. When my mom came to visit, we were like, okay, we're going to go to a bunch of places. Where are we going to go? How are we going to do it on a budget? I said, Mom, do you care where we go? No, don't care where we go. So Skyscanner, you can put in, I'm leaving from Paris and I want to go anywhere. It's going to give you the cheapest places to go. So we ended up picking Girona, sorry. And like, I'm telling you, I had no idea about Girona. Didn't even know it was a cool place. So on one hand, I saved money, and two, it opened up new experiences. So we went there. It ended up being during their like annual flower festival. It was incredible. And they filmed like a bunch of stuff from what's it called? Game of Thrones there. Really just stunning place. And there was a bridge built by I think his name is Gustave Eiffel, but the same guy who designed the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
There was this random bridge that he designed. And you just discover new things when you go to places you've never heard about. Then I said, okay, Girona, fly to anywhere. Where are you going to take me? It took us to Frankfurt. And we had the best time there. My mom went on like a tour of all the churches while I went to this really cool film museum. And they had like a big thing on 2001 Space Time Odyssey. And like you don't have to, do these specific things or specific places. Sometimes being frugal and being like careful with your money and going wherever is cheapest, like leads to a really cool experience. So that's one of my tips.
Totally. The only other ones I had was, I mean, kind of what we said about traveling on your own. Like, I mean, it seems like you were kind of more keeping to yourself, whereas like I was doing a lot on my own and I was on my own schedule and I wasn't really factoring anyone else into my plans, but I still do like meeting people from different places.
Yeah, and you're super social, and I definitely expected that from you, and I love that.
So I think one thing is like to not be afraid to go up to people. Like I went up to there was a group of girls and I just kind of said like, hey, I'm traveling alone. Like, do you guys mind if I like stand here by you or like sit with you or whatever? And they honestly, they weren't having it. They were really happy to be their group of people and they're like, oh yeah, okay. And they all ended up like walking away. So that's fine. I'm fine with rejection. So that's okay. So I was like, whatever, I'll sit here and drink my beer and like watch the football game that's on. And then I saw this other girl who was by herself and she was doing the same thing. So she just got a beer and was sitting there by herself. And I went over and I said the same thing, like, hey, I'm traveling by myself. Do you mind if I sit with you? And now I wouldn't say that to just anyone, but like we were about the same age. I could like we knew we were staying in the hostel. And she was like, yeah, sure. She was like, so am I. And we ended up just like talking about what we did that day. And we like really got along. We actually spent the next couple days together. We both found out that we wanted to go see these speakeasy bars. So we went there together. So that was great because then like I had a pal to like go to this place that we both wanted to see. And someone did the same thing to me. So I was at the bar trying to buy a drink, the beer that I had got with this girl actually. And I was like, I'm just going to see if my debit Visa works. Like, I know it won't, but I'm just going to see. And so I like use it and it doesn't work. So I start using my MasterCard. And this guy comes over. He's like, no. He's like, I know you're Canadian. I'm going to buy your drink for you. And I'm like, how did you know that? He's like, you're using a CIBC card, man. I was like, oh, yeah. So anyway, he ended up joining us. And so, yeah, like the three of us actually hung out for a couple of days. But he was from Vancouver. So that's how he recognized the CIBC card. But yeah, I think just like being comfortable going up to people and like it might be awkward for a second, but.
And even if it doesn't work out, like you're not going to vibe with everyone. And I think it can be really hard. When I was I went to a bar on a boat and I initially went with a couple of people from the hostel, but they wanted to leave. And I was like, I don't want to leave. Like they're playing the raddest music. They like were playing actual records. It was a boat like disco. I was like, I feel like I have to stay. And it took me a while to go up to people, but I eventually like there was this cool group of people dancing, and I was like, I feel like I would vibe with them. Like I got to go up. I really want to dance. And I'm sitting here by myself. Like this is crazy. And it ended up being so great. They were really cool people. Never saw them again. But I think you do miss out on experiences. And if you want to keep to yourself a lot, like I did, totally. But I think you need to at least have a couple moments to connect with people when you feel that urge. If you feel that urge, do it.
Yeah. And I definitely sat there being like, okay, I'm going to go over and say hi. Okay. Like where you feel stupid. But like this kind of ties into one of the things that I had noted there that I learned overall is that like, no matter where you're from or even your age, like I met some people a bit older than me too, and even younger, like the girl I met was 18 and we like, I'm 10 years older than her. I'm mentally 22. So I was like, oh yeah, you're a couple of years younger. She was like, no, I'm 10 years younger. I was like, oh shit. Okay. But yeah, regardless of the age, like, and like I said, where you're from, not to sound cheesy, I kind of get cheesy on this podcast sometimes, but like Ellen DeGeneres always said that we find more that we have in common with people than what like separates us. And I
Absolutely.
really learned that because so many people seem a certain way if you just pass them as a stranger, which like I really realized on this trip because I did not know anyone and I was somewhere that I had never been. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely a big takeaway.
And it's so true. I have a friend that I met through a job. Shout out to Claire, because she was 18 when I met her. And I was like, how do like I just vibe with you so well? Because a lot of 18-year-olds are just not like where she is in her headspace. So I totally agree with you
Hmm.
on that.
Yeah, and I think my last thing that I learned, we kind of said it earlier, but I just wanted to say like when I say traveling can't fix your problems, I mean like we all have stuff going on and we all have our own issues. And like if you're traveling to run away from it, that's fair in its own way. But like I think a lot of people think that they can move or change their scenery. And unless you do what we've been saying this whole time and like sit with yourself and get to know yourself, you're not going to get the benefit out of it that you could. Like you need to face, as much as it's great to like detach and dissociate and run away from whatever you might be dealing with sometimes, like if you don't deal with it, you're going to go back home or somewhere else and you're
Yeah,
still going to have the things that you're not facing. Like that's what I meant by it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. Was there any other like tips or anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I made just way too many notes that I've barely
Hmm.
looked at this whole time, which I knew would happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it comes to like what I take away from traveling, how I relate it to life, and people say it over and over, and I'm the type of person, I only learn from my mistakes. I only learn from doing things myself. You can tell me all you want. I
Hmm.
got to figure it out. No thing, job, place is going to make you happy. You do at some point need to be happy with who you are right now. Doesn't mean you can't work towards goals. It, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean you don't want to work towards getting a car or having a better job or having a relationship. But you do have to be happy with yourself. And if you're traveling for the wrong reasons, you will soon discover that. But you will learn from it. So I still think it's always
Yeah.
like a good decision to do it, but it's not going to make you happy. Like a vacation might relax you for the time being, but it's not going to make you happy. A relationship might be great, but it's not going to make you happy.
Right.
Um, and that's just so true. Like right now, I feel like everything is so great in most of aspects of my life. But sometimes I don't feel happy because I don't have like the thing that's driving me, personally. But then I realize, okay, well, I might, I could become the world's greatest scientist or the best, psychotherapist or the greatest teacher. Doesn't mean I'm going to be happy. So I've really worked on, especially since this trip and getting sober, just being happy with where I am right now.
Hmm.
Do it, be happy, because life is great and horrible and then great again. And it always comes back around. And if you need to proof, go on a trip by yourself and experience all the horrible and wonderful things
Hmm.
and realize that that's what life is. Boom.
Yeah. Amen. Um, yeah, and I'm so proud of you for like having all those realizations and where you are in your life right now.
But I
'Cause-
think like you, like just being really self-aware and being okay with things not being good or just being honest. Like a big thing about this podcast, I think we were talking about everybody thinks that they're not doing the right thing or we don't know what people are thinking all the time. Yeah, just be honest and vulnerable in your life. And it's okay to not think that things are perfect or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
just rambling now because I'm like, just be happy, everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm
No, I
so
know.
stuck on that.
I always am with advice, but I mean, everything you just said, is that your advice that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, I mean, no thing or place will make you happy is definitely like work
Yeah.
on being happy now. I am currently in the process of creating a morning and evening routine for myself to start my day really well and then calm down and go to sleep at night. My advice in general in life would probably be like never stop working on yourself and really be
Mm,
honest with yourself about like who you are and the things that you do that don't work, the things that are great about you, have self-compassion, but really be honest with yourself because that's hard.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
um, I think that's what's helped me the most.
Yeah, especially at our age too. Like you said, people go on so many different paths right now. Like you're having a baby. I was just in Europe for a month. Some of our other friends are having babies. Some people are having their second. Like some people are, still in school and finding jobs and changing jobs. Like it's so the age we're at is so there's so many different things going on at the same time. So like you
Yeah, and
really
we're
can't
comparing
compare.
ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
stop thinking you're not doing enough. Don't think that things or doing things or buying things are going to make you happy. Be honest with yourself
Hmm.
and like take risks.
Yeah.
Live your life as an experiment. I said that earlier.
Hmm.
It has worked for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I love how everything always really ties together in all these episodes that I do. Cause yeah, like like being honest with yourself and sitting with yourself. And like, I think that's why solo travel is so good because you're forced to do that. And you're forced to be like, okay, aside from everyone else in my life, what is it that I am doing? What do I want? Where do I want to go? Like, I came home with a whole new realization of things that I want to do and like paths I might want to go down or just look at going down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Solo travel is a mini life within your life,
Hmm.
and it relates to everything in your life and your connection with yourself. And you learn so much.
Yeah.
Do it. Solo travel, do it.
Do it. I love it. Well, thank you for being here. And this is such a nice conversation. It always ends so well. Like, oh, every episode, I'm like, that was so nice.
It was so nice. And I just was so pumped to hear about your trip and to talk about like mental health and just moving
Mhm.
along in your life and just like all the positive vibes.
Yeah.
It was great. So thank you
Yeah.
for having someone who like knows nothing about anything in life, but somehow has something to tell humans
Oh my God.
about.
But that's the thing we all do. Like no one knows what we're doing, but we do have our own like things that we are able to speak on. So
We're all
yeah.
learning, moving through life,
Hmm.
do it together.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Soz.
Thank you.
Keep doing the podcast. We love it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm super proud of Kelsey and how open she is. Honestly, every guest comes on and just shares their experiences and opinions so openly, and I love it. And I just want everyone to feel motivated or inspired or just feel good at the end of every episode. And I think she definitely helped do that today. So thanks again to Kelsey. And like I said in this episode, it doesn't have to be a big trip overseas or a long trip. You can literally start out doing a staycation wherever you are, or even just going to a coffee shop or going to a movie alone. I think things like that give you such self confidence. And I did an episode a few months ago on Valentine's Day, which ties into all of this too. To go do things alone, even if you do have a partner, and romanticize your life. It might sound, I don't know, cheesy or silly or whatever, but I realized that if I was on vacation here in Torbay and St. John's, the places that I always go to and things that I drive by every day, I would be posting about all the time. Like when I was in Amsterdam, I was taking pictures of all these random houses and bridges and stores, and like it's just other people's versions of what downtown looks like to us, or the ocean, like things we're so used to seeing. So yeah, I think this ties into the sentiment that I will share again and again to romanticize your life. So anyway, that is why I post a lot and why I will continue to. Like Kelsey said, social media can be used for so much good and relating to people, which is the whole point of this. And I think if we all show up authentically and let others do the same and understand that it is a highlight reel, but it's also a lot of people out here just being vulnerable and honest, and things like that can do some good. So I hope that this episode was good and hopefully gives some insight into traveling and traveling solo, and maybe some tips that you hadn't thought of. I do have some videos up on my personal TikTok account, which are some daily recaps of everything I did each day. I'm not quite finished yet. I was gone for almost 6 weeks, so there was a lot of footage that I had to sift through. So there are a bunch up and a bunch more to go. But if you're interested in knowing more about what I did specifically each day, I try to put them all there. More so for my own memories. I feel like every trip I go on, I don't take as much pictures and videos as I would like. So I'm happy that I try to do that this trip so that I can remember more of what actually happened. So yeah, stay tuned for the next bi-weekly episode, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Newfound Happy Hour.